This is a story about a top-5 pick who's made a miraculous comeback in the NBA. A comeback that many promising prospects of the past have fell short of completing. Today, we are talking about the career resurgence of Dante Exum. Let's rewind. Thursday, June 22nd, 2023. It's the final game of the best-of-5 ABA League Championship Series between Serbia's Partizan Mozart Bet and KK Crvena Zvezda. Exum is on the court as the clock ticks down to the end of the fourth quarter. He grabs the final rebound of his 10-point, 5-assist, 2-board outing. Partizan goes on to win 96-85, making Exum a Spanish Cup and ABA League champion in back-to-back seasons. That's quite the European stint. How did Dante get here exactly? I mean, a top-5 pick is supposed to be destined for NBA greatness. At least, most of them are. The 2014 NBA draft was shaping up to be one of the brightest classes of the 21st century. Future all-stars like Joel Embiid, the unsuspecting Nikola Jokic, Zach LaVine, Julius Randle, Andrew Wiggins, also known as Maple Jordan, all highlighted what Slam magazine called possibly the best draft class since 2003. That iconic magazine cover featured every lottery pick from the draft, except for two. Missing were Philadelphia's Dario Saric, who had opted to return to Anadolu Efes, the Turkish team he'd just signed with, and Dante Exum. Exum, like Saric, hadn't taken the traditional route that the rest of the lottery did by playing college basketball in the US. Instead, the Australian-born combo guard's only experience against somewhat professional talent came at the Under-19 World Championships for the Australian national team. After foregoing the opportunity to play in college, which was an option for the then 18-year-old, he entered his name in the draft as a graduate of the Australian Institute of Sport. Where Exum would fall in the draft remained in question. It really was hard to gauge the talent of a raw and unproven 6'6" floor general. So when word got out that the Utah Jazz were targeting Exum at number 5, it was shocking to say the least. At the time, NBA DraftNet claimed that he has not proven himself against a high enough level of competition to make anyone feel completely comfortable drafting him in the top 5. Harsh. But it seemed like that wasn't necessarily how he was viewed, at least in the eyes of analysts from media outlets like Bleacher Report, CBS Sports, and Sports Illustrated, among others. Cue Draft Night 2014. The first 4 names off the board are as follows: Andrew Wiggins to Minnesota, Jabari Parker to Milwaukee, Joel Embiid to Philadelphia, and Aaron Gordon to Orlando. Utah's on the clock. 3 future All-Stars are remaining, unbeknownst to the Jazz, of course, as well as a future Defensive Player of the Year and a handful of 15-plus point-per-game scorers. When time was up, Exum's rare tools and stature were just too enticing for Utah to pass on. Enter Dante Exum, the Jazz Man. The Exum hype was real in Utah, already being dubbed the most physically gifted point guard in team history before playing a preseason game. Expectations like these for any player are sometimes a recipe for disaster. And while it wasn't that bad, it certainly wasn't great. We'll give his rookie year's shooting woes a pass because of the adjustments he had to make, and he appeared in every game and started for half of the season, finishing with averages of nearly 5 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. The sophomore season rolls around and, yeah. A torn ACL sidelined Dante for the entirety of the year. Unfortunately, this trail of injuries would not escape Exum for the next couple of seasons. Shoulder surgery would follow in 2017, forcing him to miss 84 games in 2 years. When the end of his 4th season came around, he had only appeared in 204 of a possible 328 games. It was clear that this experiment had failed. Just 11 games into his 5th season, he was dealt to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a trade that landed Utah Jordan Clarkson. Exum would only play 30 games for the Cavs from 2019 to 2021. As for the Jazz, well, Clarkson took home the 2021 Sixth Man of the Year award and helped Utah clinch back-to-back division titles. You might be thinking that spelled the end of the line for Dante. I mean, 5 years with the team that drafted you just to be out of the league at 26 years old? We all felt that way. Team executives felt that way. The only person who didn't was Dante. What did Fred VanVleet say when he went undrafted in 2016? bet on yourself. That's exactly what Exum did. Most players who strike out in free agency and land overseas typically see that as a prison sentence, when in reality, that's not the case at all, and Dante is living proof of that. He bet on himself. He bet the house, the mortgage, even the kids on climbing back to the NBA. So when the Dallas Mavericks called him this past offseason, he was ready. You know who wasn't ready? The majority of NBA fans. Hell, most casual fans had never heard this guy's name before. When he inked a 2-year, partially guaranteed $6.2 million contract this summer, it felt like the Mavs were just looking to round out their roster with a low-risk, low-reward signing. I don't say that with disrespect to Dante, though. If any other player had the injury history and career misfortunes that he endured, I'm sure they wouldn't get too thrilled. This one was one of the rare times where we should have been. Fast forward to December. Exum was averaging a mere 5.5 points per contest on the year. His shooting from beyond the arc was still shaky, converting only a quarter of all attempts taken. Mavs superstar point guard Kyrie Irving goes down with injury and only plays 3 games that month. Dante was the next man up, and he didn't take that moment for granted. From December 6th to December 30th, Exum was scoring more than he ever had before in the NBA, on shooting efficiencies he'd never seen before. 15 points per game, 5 assists, 4 boards, and 1 steal while converting 61% of his shots and 53% of his threes. To put it simply, the man was hooping. He'd earned the respect of superstar teammate Luka Doncic, who praised his value on both ends of the ball in their 127-125 win over the LA Lakers. Dante's 26 points on 8 of 10 shooting proved not to be a fluke that month. He finished with double-digit scoring numbers in all but 1 game for the rest of December. And that leads us to where we are now, nearly halfway through the 2024 season, and the Mavericks are all positioned to make the playoffs at 21-15, good enough for 6th place in the Western Conference. Dante's posted career highs across the board in points, rebounds, field goal percentage, and three-point percentage. He's taken the experience he gained as a 2-time champ in Europe and applied that to his newfound NBA skill set. He's shown he can contribute on a postseason contender. He's proved he belongs. So, how do we look at Exum's career now? Through a redefined lens? He may not be the all-star talent one would expect from a top-5 pick, but he's done what so many NBA players failed to do when faced with such adversity. He adapted to the modern NBA and did everything possible to keep his dream alive. And if you ask me, that's a surefire success story with a lot left to be told. If you like this video, leave a like and subscribe to League Alerts for more content just like this. Then you might be as cool as Dante Exum's comeback story. See you next time.